Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is the Superlife Podcast, and I'm your host, Darin Olien. This is going to be a little different, this podcast. I'll try to keep it succinct as much as possible, but I'm going to jump around a little bit. I get a lot of questions, and some of that is what I do. Some of that was some questions about my house and how I'm building. Let me just dive into a bunch of things. I'm going to talk about the importance of healthy habits, my super life routine, my points of view about a few things, the way I am building my property, and maybe I'll do a whole podcast on way to view living in the future. There's a lot of things to dig in to, obviously. So kick back, relax, tune in. And I'm going to dive into a bunch of things. So welcome to this episode of Darin's Random Topics. Sometimes when I do these podcasts, I get very clear on the research and the topic I want. But this one, I was sitting there going, there's a lot of stuff I want to get into. And sometimes it takes hours and hours of research so that I can be up to date on the information that I want to dig into, and maybe some changes that I wasn't aware of. In this episode, I'm going to focus in on some practical things through the lens of what I do that maybe you can gain and garner some insight into your life. And keep in mind, I have been in health and fitness and wellness for the better part of my entire life. With that career-ending football injury in 1991 that stopped my college football career, that allowed me to switch my major into nutrition, exercise physiology, kinesiology, and I got exposed to a lot of different ways from a holistic perspective in my undergrad, which was fantastic. Am I an expert in any one category? No. But I have dedicated my life to trying to live healthy. And at the same time, I wrote a book, Superlife, around really timeless aspects of health. And if you haven't checked out that book, I wrote it in 2015. And then when we did Down to Earth, I didn't even ask, and they promoted the book, which was amazing because it got a lot of exposure in a good way. And it's common sense stuff. That's around hydration, whole food eating, sensible sleep, understanding the microbiome in a layperson's perspective, and how and what you can do in order to facilitate and build your microflora. And really, the summary of that is whole food, diversity of food, and then not exposing yourself too much to ultra-processed food and things like that. So these are the things that Superlife, there's a lot more topics that I get into in the Superlife book, but I really want to set the table. And then my second book, obviously Fatal Conveniences, was dedicated to my father who suffered from multiple chemical sensitivity. And I realized in 1992 or 3, when my dad was suffering from this multiple chemical sensitivity, I realized that the world is not what I thought. The world is full of chemicals and chemical exposure and harmful products that we can buy today. And thank God, more and more of that stuff is coming out, from what's in our clothing to what's in our deodorant to what's in our dental floss and toothpaste and shampoos and conditioners, what's in our environment, what are we cleaning things with, all of this unknowing. Every day, even people that are around me, when they start to learn more about the things they're doing and they're not aware of, that are not great, meaning that there's microplastics in their bottles, or their cutting boards is a hard plastic, Or people still use water bottles filled full of plastic. I don't know why the modern world has created such a tragic kind of, not to me dramatic, but just a harmful path that has been centered around profits well over the health and safety of you and me and our family and our pets and our environment. The large environment of all of those products that are harmful to you are also harmful for the environment because how they are created is polluting. And that changes our environment, right? So if you are dyeing blue jeans in China, which happens all the time, the blue dye in those blue jeans are dumped into rivers, changing the rivers, killing the oxygen capacity of those rivers, polluting them with an excess of thousands of unregulated chemicals, people not honoring regulatory advice because there's no real cop out there that is invisibly taking care of you. And so when my father was suffering and I became aware of all of these issues 30 years later, after I wrote the book, after I've been dedicated to health and superfood hunting for 15 plus years around the world, trying to find botanicals and foods that are healthy directly from the indigenous people without pesticides and herbicides and the way they're processing and not neutering the product, my world, the matrix, opened up in a big way. And so I realized that I needed to write a book called Fatal Conveniences. And that title came from my very good friend, Dr. Mohsen Hourmanish, who changed my view from a very large perspective on what's going on in nutrition. And in meeting him, I won't go down too far and down this road, I met some very interesting people. I met a guy, Dr. Patrick Flanagan, who was in the military, who was developing technology of two-way communication between humans and dolphins. And this was 25 years ago. I met another guy, I've never said this publicly, I met another guy who was developing remote viewing for the military, teaching soldiers, specific special forces soldiers, how to use their cognitive and psychic abilities to go to a time and place and space of a particular coordinates to visualize what's going on in that area. Again, this is 25 years ago. And I will tell you some other stories at a later date that will blow you away. But let's just say that same room of guys that were all kind of deliberating amongst themselves, I was a fly on the wall, gifted to be in that room. It was a house in Northern California, and I wanted to film it, but it was too sensitive at the time. They even were talking about unidentified flying objects and objects that they had found, and the head of the unmanned space exploration for NASA was in that room. I have been exposed to all kinds of information and other things that I found along the way was a world that in the travels in the 30 plus countries I've been, off the beaten path, realizing that people didn't have access to clean water. They didn't have access to good food. They were exposed to pollutants that were changing their environment and hurting them. I had recently Stephen Dazinger, who took down Chevron and won one of the biggest detrimental environmental activists. Let me say that again. I talked to Steven Dosinger. I had him on the podcast recently, so a few podcasts ago, you can check that episode out. But Steven went after Chevron, who purposely put oil and contaminants from their oil production in the Amazon directly into rivers, radically hurting the indigenous people downstream. And he won that case. And then through some corruption, he was put into jail and house arrest and everything else. So we're trying to petition him into getting out of that 30-year struggle he's had, even though he won the case. But I digress. The point is, from shamans and people, indigenous people that have given me information, I've been exposed to a lot. But the thing that I want to emphasize today is the small things you can do have massive impact. I think the thing, and we've heard these quotes before, the thing that surprises me the most about us as individuals is we seem to not realize the power and the impact that we have. I've been lucky to have some success in my life, but it's been an off-beaten and zigzagged path. And I have dedicated, when I feel something in my heart to do, I just go do it. And that wasn't normal to me. It was a muscle that I had to build over time. In the pursuit of doing the right thing and learning about health and wellness and the environment, I have always been an advocate for the self-empowerment of an individual. Not everybody will want to, try to change the world, but they're really just starting from the aspect of, how do I change my world? How do I feel better? Because we know mental health issues are crazy and people are suffering like crazy. Even the youth of the world has anxiety that we've never seen before at the magnitude that we're experiencing. And the health and safety of us is under threat every day, from products to, ultra-processed food, all of these things that profit over the safety and our health itself. So I really feel that in order to go through something, we have to become aware. And to become aware, we have to at least acknowledge that maybe that plastic water bottle is not the best thing to drink necessary water from, because of the petroleum that it was used to create it, to the phthalates and the chemicals that was used to make it malleable, and the chelation and the absorption that the water has from the plastic in the water, and we're drinking. The point is that there are so many things to become aware of, and I get it. These things are hard to acknowledge because it blows open our understanding of the world. But I really feel, even you listening, that you want happiness, you want joy, you want prosperity, you want wellness, you want your children, your pets, your loved ones to thrive. And I want that for you. At the core of everything I feel I'm doing is this one powerful tenet. I want you to live your best life without doing harm to others. Right? It sounds weird to say, but sometimes we do things, and corporations end up doing things that are harming us as a population, as a product that's harming us. So in the pursuit, I want you to have a super life. I want you to avoid fatal conveniences, and I want you to develop habits that are integrated into your life. And I believe that no greater thing it can be accomplished other than the small habits, when aligned with your heart, with your awareness, with your moral compass, and what's good for you, is so powerful and so necessary for us as a human population. Because we have the numbers. There's billions of us. So if billions of us are becoming aware, and you are getting better hydrated, avoiding aluminum in the deodorant, not getting exposed to endocrine disrupting fragrances in your shampoos, not being hit with unnecessary stress from electromagnetic radiation, which I cover very deeply in the book with a lot of science to back it up. These things are harmful. So what do we do? Well, from my perspective, every day we start with what we can do. So what I'd like for you to do is think about, as I kind of roll through my day here, think about what you can do, what you can anchor for your life, so that when you wake up tomorrow, you actually have a plan. Tomorrow, I am going to sit down and be quiet and breathe for 5 minutes. That's a win, because that's for you. That's lowering stress. That's increasing awareness of your consciousness, of your body. And it's lowering those stress levels so that you can be proactive in your life. Small things added up over time change everything. So 30 plus years in the wellness space, I have developed some great habits, and I have integrated them. I turn down most of the products that come to me to support or promote because they don't live up to my standards. My standards may be different than other people's standards, and that's okay. My daily world looks like this. I go to sleep early because I believe the way you're starting your evening is the way you're starting your next day. So on average, I probably go to sleep about 8:30 or 9 p.m. every day. And I wake up between 4:30 and 5 every day. 5 feels like noon, but pretty much 4:30 to 5 I wake up. The first thing I do is I walk over. It's dark. I keep lights to a minimum. I don't turn on harsh lights. I keep my Himalayan salt lamp dim. And I go over and I create my water. What does that mean? I don't just take water out of my tap and drink it. I filter it through a reverse osmosis filtering system, so it's getting out all of the contaminants that are still in our first world water, from fluorides to chlorines to phthalates to pharmaceutical drugs to PFAS, you name it. So I'm starting there. I like to add, because we're saltwater beings internally, I like to add a pinch of Himalayan crystal salt or Redmond salt or unrefined salt that I've looked into. And then I also add typically lemon, and I slam a quart to a liter of water. Sometimes I just drink a little bit, do something else, and drink it. But before I sit down and meditate, before I sit down and do my next kind of activity, I drink that water. And the next thing while I'm doing is I create some sort of an elixir. as I like to call it. It's usually based in cacao, pure cacao, tested, no heavy metals, and in hot water and with monk fruit, which is lo hang gao, which is traditional Chinese medicine, a plant that is sweet with no side effects, right? It's not created in a lab. It's from a whole fruit, mostly out of China. So a good organic monk fruit. Now I have this base of a cacao drink, and I typically add a bunch of adaptogens. Reishi, cordyceps, schizandra, chaga mushrooms. I go back and forth depending, but usually around that, sometimes I'll even add some brain enhancement stuff, some Gotu Cola, things like that. So I will make a very tasty drink. I will not drink that yet, but I will lay down on my infrared pad, which I love. It's from Therasage. So I will get that. I will do some brain work, and I'm going to tell you about that later because I'm about to launch Superlife Supermind, and I will tell you all about this amazing, device that I use every day, really easy to use, and it helps my brain come online in a big way. And then I will do about 30 minutes of that brain work, usually with breath work, nose breathing, and a pattern breathing in the nose for 4 count, hold for 7 count, exhale for 8, hold for 8, something like that. But I'll do a variety of different breathing techniques. And after that, I will sit up and I will go right into journaling. And for me, I start with my creator, my God, my guides, all of that. I will communicate to the ether, the mystery, and I will talk deeply to myself. And that is usually filled with a ton of gratitude and things like that. I can get into more specifics, but generally speaking, a stream of consciousness writing, let whatever comes out from my heart. And then from there, after about 15 minutes, what starts to naturally happen for me is I will get so stoked on the next building of what I'm up to. And just to give you a hint, I'm building a Superlife wellness platform that is so exciting. I've been creating it essentially all my life, but really focused on it in the last 2 years. And we'll be launching Superlife Supermind this month, I believe. We're on track to do that. After the journaling, I will take the dogs out, so I will get early light. I will ground. I will get early light in the eyeballs, and I get to multitask because I got to take my dogs for a walk and a run and get out in nature. And luckily, outside my door is nature. I'm grateful and lucky to create and generate my life so that I am fully immersed in nature where I live. After that, I come back, usually take supplements from Fatty 15, the essential fat that's newly discovered, True Niagen, magnesium supplements, vitamin D3 and K2 for sure. Maybe some little more adaptogens potentially. Some isolated, maybe in the winter months. I will focus more on vitamin C, iodine, zinc, these kinds of things, kind of round out the supplementation side of things. Then I will move into, and I usually work out with a group of guys, so we have a great community, and we will do high intensity weight training, and we laugh and we have fun and we work hard, and that's 3 days a week for sure. And then the other 2 days I'm usually throwing rocks or running up hills or out in nature, maybe even doing some pool work. Anything's on the table on the off days. Those off days are usually Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, where I'll just creatively do whatever it is that I feel like I want to do out in nature typically. And then I'll come back, and then I'll have my first meal. I will have oatmeal. I will have a bowl of fruit. I will use supplement I created started in 2006, called Shakeology. It's got a ton of 5,000 testing protocol, quality control that we test with all of our ingredients. So I'll drink my Shakeology, or I'll make it into a smoothie bowl with a bunch of fruit, typically berries and blueberries and whatever's in season. I will throw into that bowl and add nuts and seeds, and Baruca is my favorite nut on the planet. Maybe even Baruca butter and almond, or Baruca butter and apples, things like that. So my breakfast is big. I can have a fruit bowl with my oatmeal and stuff my face. So a big breakfast. And then I will get working. And the things I'm working on right now is rebuilding and restoring my property, which I'll get into the healthy home side of things at some point. And the rebuilding of the fire that I lost everything to. But the opportunity is I got a clean slate, essentially, and I get to build the way I feel is great. So I've got food forest designs and healthy homes and no glues and all of those things. So I have that to always stay on top of. I'm, like I said, with an amazing team of about 10 of us building the Superlife program and platform, and a lot of calls, a lot of connecting points. And then the other thing I'm working on is a new docuseries that's around the world. Some similarities to Down to Earth, but yet completely different. I guess similarity is just a sense that we're traveling, but we're diving into the pursuit of the roadmap to happiness. So we just started that filming. Obviously, it won't be out for a while because we'll be filming throughout this year. But all of those roads lead to a purpose that I want information to get out that are good for you and good for the planet. All roads lead to that for me. If I'm going to put energy into something, if I'm going to create a career and I'm going to make money off of something, it's got to be, for me, it's got to be in direct alignment with why I'm here, what I'm about, the purpose that I care about. And so for me, we're developing some purposeful, passionate, filled programs to help you zero in on your big thing. So that's very important to me. So integrating all of those things. Again, all of this stuff has taken a lot of time to develop and to integrate. And then, I will try to get another meal in to stack my meals. So I'm typically done eating by at the most 5 p.m. So I'll have another meal. What does that look like? Usually a big ass salad. I'll steal what I can from the garden depending on what's in rotation and what's available. And then farmers markets, regenerative farms, organic vegetables, big salads, raw, sprouted broccoli seeds from the sprouting company. So I'm always creating sprouts all the time in rotation. Nuts, seeds, legumes, tofu, tempeh. Those are typically, soups are great in this time of year. So a medley of soups I will create usually for the week. I was getting sloppy. I was getting a mason jar at Erewhon, typically, which was organic and wonderful. But I love creating my own food. It's always the best. And And then I'll move into, obviously throughout the day, I have meetings and meetings and meetings and meetings. But with dogs, every hour or so, I'm out. I'm running, I'm walking with them, I'm getting outside again. Sometimes I'll take a call while I'm getting some sunlight. All of those things I've integrated. And then again, like I will downshift. I will try to read something or I'll check out a show that that I like. So Netflix, Amazon, whatever's cool, and just chill for a second. And honestly, when I would meditate twice a day, it was the most. I'm just out of that habit right now. So that's kind of the day. But then as I downshift, I have my 8:30. I don't turn lights on, right? So the sun goes down here. I'm out in nature. There's no light coming from a city. Luckily for me, I realize that's a privilege, but I've created my life for that, to have that. And then I'll dive into all kinds of research that inspires me, and people that I'm working with in the clean energy space, in the environment space of water, power, food, shelter, waste remediation, these kinds of things. These are side hustles that are building a huge adjunct and support of my big mission of Superlife. So that's a typical day. And throughout the day, I'm drinking water, I'm making teas, I'm making other elixirs. Along the way, I'm recording podcasts. I'm trying to create things that are advantageous for other people. That is a typical day. Obviously, menus change, different foods I get exposed to, always trying different diversifications of my salads, of my medleys of soups. I make a hell of a pizza, a vegan pizza. But typically that's it. That's a typical day. But I hope that you gained something from that. I think that, again, to reemphasize, if you can integrate things that you know you can do, and I don't want to use shoulds, but the awareness that you have, are you drinking enough water? Are you moving your body? Are you supporting yourself with great people? The thing that inspires me every day is the group of people, many groups of people I've surrounded myself with, the people I'm creating business with, the people I'm creating TV shows with, the people I work out with, my friend circle. And I am boring in a certain sense because I don't go out much. I reserve the right to build my energy, and if I go out too much, I drain my energy. So I'm very selective at the social aspect of my life. Very, to a point where sometimes I have to stretch myself to get out of my little ecosystem. But that's it. I hope you gain and garner something here and get inspired. And please sign up for our newsletter, superlife.com or darinolien.com. It all goes to the same place because we're gonna kick some ass in 2025, and the supporting systems that I'm creating to help you do that is bloody exciting. And I'm stoked that you're here. I'm stoked that you're listening. I want nothing but the best life for you. Because the better you are, the healthier you are, the better you are for the people around you, the gift that you are for the people around you, and the things that you can then have energy for to contribute to the things that mean a lot to you. So Don't underestimate the power of these little things, the habits that you're creating, the choices that you're making, the people that are around you, the opportunities only get enhanced when you take care of yourself. Okay? And I realize I'm not married. I don't have kids. I do have 2 very, very active dogs that keep me on my toes and also keep me up at night when they're not feeling good. And believe me, it's a whole nother conversation with my good friend Chaga, who's had a lot of health issues. But I realize that some of you are parents. Some of you are juggling jobs. Some of you are stressed out. But these little things that you can align with and do, just one of them is building upon the next. Okay? So my heart is with you. My enthusiasm for life is being infused with more and more things that hopefully can help you and affect you in the future. So this is my random podcast today, and I hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe and share it, and I'm grateful you're here. I love you.